Had a woman in my shop last month, came from another garage. They'd quoted her $1,400, struts, control arms, alignment, the lot. Car was shaking on the motorway. I put it on the balancer. 45 minutes later she drove out, cost her 80 bucks. One wheel was out of balance. Now look, I'm not saying every shop's out to get you, but if you can't tell the difference between a tyre problem and a suspension problem, you're basically handing someone a blank check. Here's what I want to do. I'm going to give you the same two questions I ask myself every time a car comes in shaking. Takes 30 seconds to answer, and it'll tell you more than most free inspections ever will. Most people walk into a shop and say, "My car's vibrating." And I get it, when you're driving it just feels wrong. But that one sentence can turn into expensive guessing because vibration can come from a dozen places. So before anyone touches your car, answer two questions for yourself. When does it vibrate, and where do you feel it? The where one is the shortcut. If it's in the steering wheel, you're usually looking at the front end. Front tyres, front brakes, front suspension. If you feel it more in the seat or the floor, think rear tyres, rear brakes, sometimes drive shaft area. If the whole car shakes while you're sat still at idle, that's not wheels at all, that's engine or mounts. And if the brake pedal itself is pulsing, that's nearly always the brakes and rotors doing their thing, not some mystery ABS problem. Quick surprise for you. Alignment almost never causes a steering wheel shake. Alignment problems usually show up as the car pulling and tyres wearing funny. A shake at speed is far more often balance. So here's the deal. Now that you've got when and where, we'll walk through the most common when patterns, starting with the cheap, common fixes and working up to the pricey stuff so you know what to check first. You know that shake that only shows up on the motorway? Usually around, say, 55 to 65, then you go a bit faster and it sort of fades out? That pattern nearly always points at wheels and tyres first. What's happening is simple. At certain speeds, an out-of-balance wheel starts timing itself with the suspension and the whole thing buzzes together. It's not magic, it's just the car hitting an awkward rhythm. So the first cheap win is a proper wheel balance. In most places you're talking 60 to 120 bucks for all four. And honestly, in my experience, about 9 out of 10 speed-sensitive vibrations are just one wheel that's slightly off. And don't let anyone sell you an alignment for a shake. Alignment can cause a pull and weird tyre wear, sure, but it won't cure a balance vibration. Quick self-check. If it's in the steering wheel, think front wheels first. If you feel it more through the seat or floor, think rear. If balancing doesn't fix it, stay in the same category. Bent rim or wheel run out can shake in a narrower speed band, sometimes with a slow air leak. A rim repair might be 75 to 250 a wheel. Flat spots are another one. Cars sat cold for a while, shakes for a few miles, then improves. And if the tyres have that wavy, scalloped wear, that's often shocks or repeated imbalance over time. One more thing. Someone can balance a tyre and it still shakes. That's where road force balancing helps. It's usually only $10 or $20 more per tyre, and it finds tyres that are basically shaped wrong under load. Had a mate bring his Camry over last weekend. Swore it was his suspension. 5 minutes on the balancer, one weight on the front left, done. Saved him $400 he was about to spend on struts. So your line at the shop is balance first. If it's still there, road force it and check rim run out. Don't sell me suspension until that's done. If your car feels smooth cruising along, then it only starts shaking the second you touch the brake pedal. That's a really clean clue. That's not suddenly your tyres, unless it also shakes when you're not braking. Now, where you feel it tells you which end to look at. If the steering wheel shudders in your hands, that's usually front brakes. If you feel it more through the seat or the floor, think rear brakes. And if the brake pedal itself is pulsing back at you, that's normally the brake disc having high and low spots, pushing the pads back as it turns. This is also the brake upsell zone. I've lost count of how many times people get told pads, rotors, calipers on both axles today. AAA found about 22% of free inspections end up with unnecessary repairs being pushed, and brakes are an easy sell because it's safety. So make them use numbers. Ask, what's my pad thickness in millimeters? New is around 10 to 12 millimeters. Under 3 to 4 millimeters, yeah, they're done. Then, what's my rotor thickness compared to the minimum thickness number stamped on it? Modern rotors can be thin, so replacement might be fair, but they should prove it. Money-wise, pads and rotors can be $400 to $900 per axle. If the rotor is thick enough, resurfacing can be $20 to $58 per rotor. Also watch for a sticking caliper. Car pulls under braking, burning smell from one wheel way hotter than the others, or uneven pad wear. And quick truth, when a shop says warped rotors, a lot of the time they mean uneven thickness or hot spots from heat and pad material transfer, not the disc magically bending like a Pringle. By the way, has anyone ever told you you need brakes and it just felt off? Like they were pushing a bit too hard? Drop it in the comments. I read them all, and some of the stories you lot share are honestly wild, and it helps me pick what to cover next. Alright, here's one I see all the time. Someone comes in saying, my car is vibrating, and then they tell me it does it sitting at a red light in park or neutral. And I'll be honest with you, if it's shaking while you're standing still, it's not your wheels. The tires aren't moving, are they? That kind of vibration usually falls into two buckets. The first one is the engine not running smooth, like a misfire. That tends to feel uneven, a bit lumpy. It often gets worse when you put it in drive, turn the AC on, or go up a hill. You might notice it feels down on power, fuel mileage drops, that sort of thing. Second bucket is engine mounts. That's more of a steady buzz you feel through the seat or steering wheel, and you might get a clunk when you shift into drive or reverse, or when you get on and off the throttle. Quick checks you can do. Watch the rev counter. If the RPM is hunting up and down, that's a clue. Listen for an uneven idle. And if you pop the bonnet and the engine rocks a lot when you shift from reverse to drive, mounts are worth looking at. One warning, if your check engine light is flashing, don't keep driving it. That can cook the catalytic converter. Cost-wise, plugs can be a couple $100, sometimes up to $4. Mounts can be $300 to $1,500 plus, depending on the car. And yeah, people will chase wheel balancing for months when it's really a plug, a coil, or a mount letting the whole engine shake the chassis. My dad used to say that tire line to me, and it took me embarrassingly long as an apprentice to finally listen. Now, if the car feels fine cruising, but the second you give it some throttle it starts vibrating and it feels like it's coming from underneath you, that's usually not a tyre balance thing. That's drivetrain. On a front-wheel drive or all-wheel drive car, the big one I see is a CV axle. If the inner joint's worn, you'll get a shake on straight line acceleration, especially up a hill or merging. If it's the outer joint, you'll often hear clicking on tight turns. Easiest test is a slow, full lock turn in a car park. And have a quick look behind the wheel. If the rubber boot's split and there's grease flung everywhere, that axle's basically been running dry. Typical money is, say, $300 to $800 per axle fitted, depending what you drive. Rear-wheel drive or all-wheel drive can be drive shaft, U-joints, carrier bearing. That tends to shudder under load from 0 to 40, not just at one magic motorway speed. And if there's any clunk or play in a U-joint, that's not one to ignore. They're often 145 to 400 to sort. Automatics can do a torque converter shudder too. Feels like you're driving over rumble strips around 40 to 50, revs sort of dance. Little trick, a light tap on the brake at steady speed can make it stop, which points right at the converter clutch. Here's the bit most people miss. Tyres don't care if you're accelerating. If the vibration changes with throttle, think drivetrain before you buy another set of tyres. And look, if this is helping you make sense of your car, subscribe, yeah? And give it a like. It genuinely helps other people find this instead of guessing and burning money. Alright, let's keep going. Now, if the vibration isn't that smooth, same speed shake, and it's more like the car feels a bit loose, especially on rough roads, this is usually a different game. You'll feel it at pretty much any speed, but the worse the road surface gets, the worse the wobble gets. Sometimes you'll get a clunk, and you'll find yourself making little steering corrections like the car can't quite decide where it wants to go. Easy check you can do with no tools. Find a car park with a couple of speed bumps, or just roll in and out of a driveway entrance slowly. Listen for a single clunk or a repeated rattle. Then do it again with the wheel turned slightly left, then slightly right. If the noise or the feel changes, that's a big hint something's got play. Have a look at your tyres too. If they're scalloped or chopped looking, or the car feels bouncy, nosedives when braking, or rolls more than it used to, often you're looking at shocks, struts, or tired bushes. Cost-wise, it can vary a lot. Ball joints might be $200 to $500 each, tie rods can be $250 to $750 with an alignment, and struts can run $800 up to $2,400 depending on the car. And here's the upsell trap. Your whole front end is bad after a 2-second glance. Don't argue, just ask which part has play. Show me the movement and point to what's loose. One more thing, an alignment isn't a cure for looseness. Alignment doesn't fix worn parts, it just points worn parts in a different direction. Back when I did rally, just hobby stuff, 4 seasons, you learn real quick what worn bushings feel like. The car tells you everything if you actually listen. Most people don't mind paying for a proper fix. What they hate is paying for the wrong fix. And I get it. AAA did a survey a while back and about 2/3 of drivers said they don't trust repair shops. That's not you being paranoid, that's you walking in prepared. So here's the simplest way to talk to a shop without getting steamrolled. You walk in and you say, "It vibrates when I'm doing this, and I feel it here. Steering wheel, seat, or brake pedal." Then ask one question. What's your first test to confirm that? Not, what do you think it is? Confirm. Then keep these 3 lines in your pocket. First, show me the measurements. Second, what's the spec and where is mine compared to it? Third, start with the cheapest proven cause first. Balance, road force, run out, and then we can talk suspension. If it's a braking shake, be specific. What's my pad thickness in millimeters? And what are my rotor numbers versus the minimum thickness number stamped on the rotor? If they start pushing a big front end job, you say, which part has play? Show me with the wheel in the air. If they won't give numbers, won't show you anything, or the estimate just says stuff like front end service or recommended repairs with no proof, that's usually when I'd get a second opinion. $50 at another place can save you a few hundred easy. A free inspection isn't free if it turns your vibration into a shopping list. And look, I run a shop. 8 guys work for me. I'd rather you ask these questions. Good mechanics won't mind. The dodgy ones get annoyed, and that reaction tells you plenty. If this kind of plain English car stuff helps, consider subscribing. It helps the right people find it, and it keeps you from paying for guesswork.